What's up, Libra? Okay, so what's gonna happen here is I'm gonna do a card pull, or I've done a card pull. I'm gonna read the description for the card, and then I'm gonna do the herbal astrology. And this card is gonna come from the Herbal Astrology Oracle deck by Adriana Ayala's. And this particular card is comfrey, right? And that subtext is going to be completion. Here's the description. Achievement, completion of a cycle. Success, closure, completion of a long journey. Wholeness, mending. Comfrey is known as the bone set or knit bone. Has been cultivated, Comfrey, also known as bone set or knit bone, has been cultivated for its healing properties since 400 BCE. It was used by the ancient Greeks, Romans, Celts, and many more to heal broken bones, bind wounds, stop heavy bleeding. Symphytum comes from the Greek words sympho, meaning to grow together, and phyton, meaning plant. Comfrey comes from the Latin confirmare, which also means to grow together. The Greek historian Herodotus recommended comfrey to stop severe bleeding internally and externally. Later Greeks used it to heal lung problems. Farmers value comfrey. It was grown as a food for people and livestock and produced valuable fertilizer for the garden. The plant was also used as food during the Irish potato famine in the 1840s. Though it is recommended not to eat too much of it because of its impact on the liver. Ruled by Saturn, comfrey promotes healing of the skin, musculoskeletal system. The roots and leaves stimulate cell proliferation and promote bone and wound healing. Saturnian herbs are those set to relieve the body and mind from karma, assisting with shielding, endurance, restoration, and repair. Saturn grants wisdom through challenges, and like Saturn, comfrey heals the general musculoskeletal system. Sorry about that. Alright. This is the guidance portion. Comfrey represents wholeness, completion, closure of a great cycle. The wreath symbolizes a cycle containing the energy of the past, present, and future. Hovering over the clouds to note how the foundation of all cycles are grounded in mystery. Comfrey majestically grows in the center, representing the axis, Mundi, the sacred heart, the sacred will that pulses the great mystery. Comfrey has appeared today to signal that a great cycle is nearing completion. Stay aligned as you continue to prune and heal the garden of the self. Look closely at repeated patterns, persons, or situations that keep showing up in your life. Draw upon comfrey's power to mend and find wholeness, lessons, and patterns that need closure. Okay, so there's a few things, Libra. One, in terms of, I like this card already. I like this card. I like a few of the cards, actually, but I'm not sure if I'm just pulling a lot of the ones that I like or what, but it's kind of funny. But the idea here is with comfrey and this idea of what it's related to. I think one of the main things that jumped out at me was the fact that comfrey is associated with Saturn, and for those that don't know, Saturn is actually exalted, meaning that it has its strongest manifestation in the sign of Libra. And honestly, all of what I'm about to what really came up was the idea of Saturn in Libra, and it's pretty it's not something that a lot of people have understanding of, I would say. But the idea of Saturn, uh, resiliency, responsibility, strength, uh, being able to overcome, why would it have its strongest rulership and or its strongest placement in the sign of Libra? Well, just to give you an understanding, there is no more there is no more responsibility that you can really place on a person besides marriage, some can say, right? Besides marrying yourself to another person, that dedication. And that's ruled by Libra for those who don't know. But the idea here is that's one, right? Also, Saturn, the idea of Saturn, the planet of Saturn. When you think of Saturn in the sky, it's very beautiful. It is very beautiful, actually. It's actually, I mean, I would venture to say the most beautiful planet. But in astrology, it does represent hardship, right? The refinement that comes. What was the quote that I heard? The idea of character. That is, there's some derivation where the word character comes from, where it literally means to sculpt, right? The things that come out as a result of that sculpture, or of that sculpting of this rock, that's what makes character, right? We go through things and we become very strengthened as a result, and become very refined. It's very much something to see that, right? That area of when you think about a sign that probably has its most that's probably most important for it to keep its composure and really maintain its composure. It could be or see, not really, they could see it in terms of their energy signatures, could see the real purpose in really containing composure. And that's very much a Libra phenomenon, and Saturn in Libra phenomena as well, because when it comes down to the strength, politics is also ruled by Libra, right? And when it comes down to the idea of having to build relationships with people, now, sometimes it does require maintaining frame, maintaining that sense of maintaining that could be very much life or death in so many different ways. It's very easy to be like other signs in a certain sense when it comes down to the world of politics, but when it comes down to the real life, what really has to be done, it does require that partnership, and the responsibilities that come along with that could be so tremendous. And I mean, not everybody can do it. I'll be honest, not everybody can do it. There's something to be said about that. And in terms of this journey, the journey that we could really seeing as a really completion and understanding, you should understand something. This is such an offhand example here, but in there's a anime. If you don't know what an anime is, it's basically a cartoon, right? Or not. It's an adult like cartoon kind of sort of, but like, if that makes sense. But the idea of in My Hero Academia, right? That's one of the anime. The hero, after fighting a very very powerful villain, he's the townspeople are taking pictures and basically like really celebrating the guy, and then and he's cheering, and he's just like he's soaking it all in, but then he goes into I forget where exactly, but it's just him and like one other hero or something like that, and he collapses. And that element, that idea of finishing, that idea of finishing strong, he understood that it was a message that he was sending to all the other villains out there with that idea of, this is how I finished him. And that's so it becomes something so much more than just this guy waving and soaking in attention to try to get the photo ops or whatever. Those villains were going to see that picture. They were going to see those frames. They were going to realize, like, if he did show how badly he was injured, then that may give them hope. And what he did there was something that was very much it was very much necessary, and we need to understand how we finish is essentially going to be something that could last and could be just as almost just as important as the entire race itself, right? And in terms of now what you're completing, how you do it, what you're whatever this course, this completion may bring, understand that, carry that with you, right? This idea of Saturn and Libra, you need to understand that the refinement that's here is solid, right? And take that understanding with you. There's a mindset. There's a very real mindset that goes along with this idea of, I've completed this, all right? And it's important how you finish. It's important how you actually come about into the world and after you finish this particular closure. Take the lessons, and I think we talked about this in the last one, but don't let it. You don't have to let it. You don't have to resonate that pain that you feel, and many times it's very important that you don't. In any case, Libra, have a good week. I'll see you next week.